You see, before anything changes outside of you, something must shift within you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to fix the world. They complain about the system, their boss, their family, the economy, and yet they never pause long enough to ask the most important question, what about me? Self-awareness is not just a concept. It's the foundation of every real success story. The person who knows himself deeply doesn't get easily shaken by circumstances because he understands the roots of his own behavior. And understanding yourself, truly understanding yourself, is the beginning of mastery. When I say think and work on yourself first, I'm not talking about selfishness. I'm talking about responsibility. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. You can't build a strong team, a strong business, or even a strong relationship if you're weak in character or lost in confusion. Most people rush to change everything around them, their job, their location, their friend, but they rarely sit down with themselves and confront the mirror. They avoid the silence because silence reveals truth. Sometimes is uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the birthplace of growth. Self-awareness requires courage. It demands that you look beyond your excuses and observe your patterns. Why do you react with anger in certain moments? Why do you procrastinate when it's time to act? Why do you crave validation from others instead of trusting your own judgment? These questions aren't pleasant, but they are powerful. Because once you understand the why, you begin to change the how. You stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. You stop chasing approval and start building authenticity. And here's the irony. Most people think they know themselves, but they only know the version that was shaped by society. You were told who you are by your parents, your teachers, your culture, your failures. You were labeled. You were defined by opinion and outcomes. But those are not you. Those are layers that have covered who you really are. To think and work on yourself means to peel those layers back, to rediscover what drives you, what scares you, what excites you. It's not about adding more, it's about subtracting what's false. Think about it. When you know who you are, you stop wasting energy pretending to be someone else. You stop comparing, you stop competing in meaningless games. You begin to move with a quiet confidence because your direction comes from within. You make decisions faster because clarity replaces confusion. And the most powerful thing, you stop being controlled by emotions. You start using them as tools, not chains. That's the difference between people who drift and people who rise. The world will always test you through criticism, failure, and rejection. But if you've done the inner work, those things won't define you. They'll refine you. Self-awareness gives you the strength to endure, the humility to learn, and the wisdom to adapt. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. Every day, a little more understanding. Every mistake, a little more insight. Every reflection, a little more control over your path. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't just think about what needs to be done. Think about who you are becoming as you do it. Before you chase success, chase clarity. Before you demand results, develop awareness. Because without that foundation, everything you build will crumble at the first storm. But with it, you become unshakable. In the end, the greatest journey you will ever take is the one inward. That's where real change begins. That's where strength, peace, and vision are born. So stop trying to fix the world. Fix yourself first. The world will follow. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that nobody is coming to save you. Not your boss, not your parents, not the government, not luck. The moment you stop blaming and start taking responsibility, everything changes. Because blame is easy. It keeps you comfortable. It makes you the victim, and it gives you a story that excuses your lack of action. But responsibility, that's hard. It forces you to look at your life as the product of your choices, not your circumstances. You see, too many people spend years saying, if only I had more support, or if only the world was fair. But the truth is, the world has never been fair. It's never promised comfort, equality, or convenience. What it offers instead is opportunity. And opportunity is always wrapped in challenge. Those who rise are not the ones with the easiest path, but the ones who take ownership of the one they have. When you take full responsibility for your life, you shift from being a passenger to being the driver. You stop saying, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I do about it? That question changes everything. It turns pain into fuel, mistakes into lessons, and obstacles into teachers. Responsible. It gives you back your power. It removes the illusion that life controls. Realize the moment you stop blaming others, you also stop depending on them for your happiness. You free yourself from the emotional prison of expectation. You begin to live life on your own terms, not as a reaction to someone else's decisions. That freedom is what true power feels like. It's not loud or arrogant. It's steady, calm, and unshakable. So if there's something in your life you don't like, stop asking who's at fault and start asking what you can do about it. Because once you take responsibility, the world stops being something that happens to you. It becomes something you shape. The truth is simple. Life doesn't get better by blaming others. It gets better when you get better. Motivation is a spark. It lights you up for a moment, but discipline is the fire that keeps you going long after the excitement fades. Too many people rely on motivation to move them, waiting for the perfect mood, the right timing, or the ideal conditions to start. But success doesn't wait for our feelings. It respects consistency. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. You see, motivation is emotional. Discipline is intentional. When you feel inspired, everything seems possible. You wake up early, you work hard, you plan big. But the truth is, that feeling doesn't last. Life will test your commitment when you're able. There's a simple truth I've learned. Emotions are unreliable partners. They change with your environment, your sleep, your stress, your mood. If you build your life around them, you'll live in constant inconsistency. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't depend on how you feel. It's a system. It's structure. It's commitment. It's saying, and I will do what must be done, even when I don't want to. That mindset builds strength faster than anything else. Think of discipline as a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. Every time you push through laziness, every time you finish what you start, every time you say no to distractions, you build a layer of mental resilience. And that resilience becomes your competitive edge. Because while others are giving in to comfort, you're building momentum. And momentum, once created, becomes unstoppable. But there's something deeper here. Discipline is not just about work, it's about identity. It's about who you decide to be. You discipline yourself. You're telling the world, I'm not controlled by my emotions, I'm controlled by my vision. And that shift changes everything. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. So the next time you don't feel motivated, remember this, your emotions don't determine your destiny. Your habits do. The real test isn't how inspired you are when things are easy. It's how committed you remain when they're not. Because discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect. And when you master it, you stop chasing motivation altogether because you've already become the kind of person who doesn't need it. People often ask, how do I stay motivated? And I always tell them, you don't. Because motivation was never meant to last. It's an emotion, not a strategy. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you feel unstoppable and the next you can barely get out of bed. That's human. But if your success depends on how you feel, you'll never build anything that lasts. What truly matters isn't motivation, it's discipline. Discipline is the quiet strength that moves you forward when inspiration disappears. When you rely only on motivation, you live in bursts. You start projects with excitement, but you don't finish them. You make promises to yourself, then break them the moment things get hard. Discipline doesn't allow that. Discipline doesn't ask if you feel ready. It simply asks, will you do it anyway? And that's where transformation begins. Because real growth starts the day you stop negotiating with your emotions and start honoring your commitments. Most people misunderstand success. They think it's built on passion, talent, or luck. But the truth is, it's built on boring, consistent effort, doing the same small, often unexciting tasks every single day. The greats aren't always more talented than others. They're just more disciplined. They repeat what works, refine what doesn't, and stay focused when everyone else gets distracted. It's not glamoro. It's not easy. but it's powerful. You see, discipline is not about being strict, it's about being free. Because when you develop discipline, you no longer become a slave to your emotions. You gain control over your time, your habits, and your energy. You don't need to wait for motivation to appear. You become the source of your own momentum. That's real freedom to act, even when you don't feel like it. And here's something to think about. Discipline and self-respect are deeply connected. Every time you follow through on your word, even in the smallest ways, you build trust with yourself. You strengthen that inner voice that says, and I can rely on me. And that confidence, that internal credibility, is what separates those who talk from those who do. Discipline teaches you that consistency is more valuable than intensity, that progress matters more than perfection. There will always be days when your mind tells you to rest, to stop, to wait. That's the voice of comfort and comfort. Ort is the silent killer of potential. Discipline doesn't silence that voice. It overrules it. It reminds you that purpose matters more than mood, and progress matters more than excuses. So if you truly want to change your life, stop chasing the feeling of motivation and start practicing the habit of discipline. Because discipline is not built in a single day. It's built every day through every small decision that says, Bantai will show up. And remember this. Motivation may inspire you, but discipline will define you. Your mind is the most valuable asset you own, yet most people treat it carelessly. They guard their money, their homes, their phones, but not their thoughts. They let anyone and anything walk into their mental space without question. But here's the truth. What you feed your mind will eventually shape your reality. Your beliefs, your confidence, your decisions, all of it comes from the quality of the information you allow inside. If you keep feeding your mind noise, they'll live in confusion. If you feed it wisdom, you'll live with clarity. We live in a time where distraction is disguised as information. Everywhere you look, something is demanding your attention. Social media, news, gossip, opinions. Most of it doesn't build you, it drains you. It fills your head with comparison, fear, and negativity. And over time, that noise becomes your inner voice. You start thinking in the language of doubt and limitation, not because it's who you are, but because it's what you've been consuming. Protecting your mind isn't about isolation. It's about curation. It's about being deliberate with what you allow to influence your thoughts. When you begin to protect your mental space, you become selective about what deserves your attention. You start asking, does this make me better or does it make me weaker? That one question alone can change the trajectory of your life. Because the mind is like soil. It grows whatever you plant. Plant ideas of strength, focus, and pose, and your actions will align with them. But if you keep feeding it junk, negativity, envy, excuses, you'll live in mental chaos, always doubting yourself, always reacting instead of creating. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your future. That's why successful people are disciplined, not just in their actions, but in their thinking. They read, they reflect, they surround themselves with people who challenge their perspective instead of limiting it. They understand that every conversation, every book, every piece of content is an investment or a withdrawal from their mental bank account. And when your account runs low, so does your confidence, your focus, and your creativity. But here's the part most people miss. Protecting your mind also means protecting it from yourself, from your own negative self-talk, your fears, and your past failures. The human mind has a tendency to replay pain, to relive mistakes, to remind you of where you've fallen short. You must RN to interrupt that pattern. Replace self-criticism with self-awareness. Replace comparison with gratitude. Because when you master your mind, you master your emotions, and when you master your emotions, you master your world. So be intentional with what you consume, every word, every image, every idea. It's shaping the person you're becoming. Don't just feed your mind information, feed it inspiration. Surround yourself with truth, with growth, with people and ideas that push you forward. Because in the end, your life will always move in the direction of your dominant thoughts. Protect them like gold because they are. If you really want to understand where you are in life, don't just look in the mirror, look around you. Your environment is a reflection of your standards. The people you spend time with, the conversations you entertain, the habits that fill your day, each one mirrors the level of commitment you have to your own growth. You can't expect to rise if you're surrounded by thin GS and people that keep you comfortable in the same place. The truth is simple. Your environment doesn't just influence you, it shapes you. Every person carries a certain energy. Some people pull you forward. They challenge you. They expand your thinking. They make you believe more is possible. Others drain you, distract you, or keep you stuck in cycles of negativity. The mistake most people make is assuming they can stay the same while their environment stays the same. But growth demands change. And sometimes that change means walking away from comfort and surrounding yourself with challenge. Think about it. If you spend your time around people who complain, you will start to complain. If you stay in places where mediocrity is normal, you will begin to accept it. But if you surround yourself with people who push boundaries, who wake up early, who are driven by purpose rather than pleasure, you'll start to rise to that level naturally. Environment is stronger than willpower because it silently programs your behavior. You adapt to the energy around you without even noticing. Your surroundings also include the physical space you live and work in. Is it organized, inspiring, focused, or chaotic, cluttered, and draining? Your space reflects your state of mind. If you want clarity, create an environment that encourages it. Build habits into your surroundings that make success easier. Leave a book where you'll see it every morning. Keep distractions out of reach. Set up your environment so it serves your goals instead of sabotaging them. And then there's the digital environment. What you watch, what you follow, what you engage with online. Every click, every scroll, every conversation is shaping your perspective. The people you follow become your virtual environment, and they influence your mindset as much as those physically near you. Choose carefully. Follow people who inspire growth, not gossip. Fill your feed with learning, not noise. You can't build a strong mind by consuming weak content. Your environment, in every sense, is a mirror. It doesn't just show where you are. It shows who you are willing to become. If you want to change your results, change your surroundings. If you want to think bigger, spend time with people who already do. You want discipline? Align yourself with those who live by it. Don't wait for your environment to improve. Build one that demands your improvement, because at the end of the day, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is shaped every single day by the environment you choose to live in. Everything you see in your outer world is a reflection of what's happening in your inner world. People spend their entire lives trying to fix circumstances, trying to rearrange the external pieces of life, their job, their income, their relationships, without realizing that the source of those results lies within them. The truth is, you don't attract success, peace, or clarity by chasing. You create them by aligning your inner world, your mindset, your emotions, your habits, with what you want to see outside. The inner work always comes first. You can't build a meaningful life on a foundation of inner chaos. If your mind is full of fear, your decisions will be defensive. If your heart is filled with resentment, your actions will carry that bitterness. And if your thoughts are dominated by doubt, your results will always mirror uncertainty. That's why the greatest investment you can ever make is not in things. It's in your inner development. When you grow internally, everything around you starts to shift naturally. You don't have to force the change. You simply become the kind of person who attracts it. Working on yourself doesn't mean escaping the world. It means understanding how to navigate it with wisdom and clarity. It means observing your patterns instead of being controlled by them. It means training your mind to stay calm when life gets unpredictable. Because no matter how successful you become, life will always test your emotional foundation. The stronger your inner world, the less external noise can shake you. There's a quiet power in self-work, the kind that doesn't make headlines but changes destinies. It's in the daily discipline of reflection, gratitude, learning, and restraint. It's in taking the time to heal what's broken inside you instead of covering it with achievements. So many people are chasing goals without realizing they're carrying the same unresolved pain, the same limiting beliefs, the same emotional baggage into every new chapter of life. And then they wonder why every success feels temporary. The truth is, nothing on the outside can fill an emptiness that comes from within. The inner work is not glamorous, and it's not easy. It requires honesty, patience, and humility. But it's the kind of work that gives you something no one else can take away. Peace of mind, clarity of purpose, and strength of character. Once you have those, you can face anything. You stop needing validation because you already know your value. You stop fearing failure because you trust your ability to rise again. That's the real power of working on yourself. It turns uncertainty into opportunity and struggle into strength. So before you try to change the world, take a moment to change yourself. Align your mind, your heart, and your actions with the life you want to live. Because in the end, it's not the world that decides your success. It's the person you become within it.